Hi everyone, hope you're well. Chris Cowlin here. Now, before we get into it, I'd just like to inform you about a new website selling quality current and retro Spurs jerseys, okjersey.com. They sell all current and retro Tottenham Hotspur shirts in all sizes. They sell the current fan and player versions, as well as the 80s and 90s retro shirts, including my very favourite, the 1991 FA Cup final shirt. You can order very easily from okjersey.com, and if you use the code Chris, you will receive an 8% discount off your final order. You can also use the QR code on the top left of your screen. And by the way, they also have some training wear here and the 25-26 colour special edition jersey. Hi everyone, hope you're well. My name is Chris Cowlin and this is another edition of the Spurs Chat Podcast. In this edition, we will be previewing the huge game on Sunday afternoon at the Tottenham Hotspur Stadium. Of course, it is the North London rivals, the North London derby. Tottenham Hotspur take on Arsenal. Now, at the moment, Spurs are down in 16th in the Premier League table. Spurs are needing points to come away from that relegation zone. Thomas Frank, of course, has departed. Igor Tudor has come in. He will manage Spurs for the remaining 12 Premier League games of this season. Now, Arsenal, at the moment, our rivals, are currently top of the Premier League table. 2 draws in their last 2 Premier League games. Most recently, a 2-2 draw away at Wolves after being 2-0 up. Now, a lot of their own fans are calling the club bottle jobs, and many questioning, can they get over the line this time, or will it be second again? Now, joining me, as per usual, are 3 very special guests, including our very own Gareth McGuinness. Gareth, how are you?
All good, Chris. I just really enjoyed the new intro video there. After 4-5 years of doing podcasts on the show, I finally made the intro video. So a celebratory moment for me. Let's hope it continues this weekend.
The small things, isn't it, Gareth? The small things. Also joining us, I'm going to call him channel regular because he's here more than some of our own regulars this season with the way that Spurs have been in poor form. We've got Kenny Ken back with us, of course, Arsenal fan. Kenny, how are you?
You know what? I'm really excited about the game. Not obviously in the context of how both teams are playing. It's just a North London derby. A North London boy like myself. As I said, I don't see any team as our rivals except for Spurs. You know, have I had many traumatic experiences at your hands? Well, I don't talk about the 91 FA Cup semi-final that much, do I? I can't think of any more traumatic events. But it was traumatic in itself. Oh, yeah, there was 82 FA Cup, you know, Pat Jennings letting that goal from Garth Crooks. But apart from that, you know, I've had quite a reasonable childhood supporting Arsenal.
Well, we're only 3 minutes in. You brought in up that 91 semi-final already. Talk to us about it. How do you feel about it?
Oh, well,
you mentioned it.
I don't know. It's 35 years, and I'm still talking about it, so I clearly haven't got over it. You know, Gaza, you know, only playing for 45 minutes, but causing irreparable damage. David Seaman fluffing his lines twice against Gary Lineker. Yeah, I'm okay with it. I've got over it. Don't worry about it.
Yeah. We've also got Sophie Nicolau back with us, one of my favourite guests, actually, on the channel. You know, Kenny. Of course, from the Highbury squad. Sophie, how are you?
I am very well, Mr. Cowlin. How are you?
Very good, very good.
I almost took a picture of you the other day because here I am, like sitting in my my little, you know, corner in Southern California, and I put the telly on, and I'm like, whoa, there's Mr. Cowlin there, like doing his rounds, talking about the Tottenham being in a relegation fight.
There we go.
And I nearly sent it to you, but I thought you having bad day enough as it is, so I'll let it go.
See, Kenny mentions the 91 FA Cup, and you mentioned relegation. You've gone straight in for it.
By the way, I'm very well behaved when I'm on my own. So I have no idea what might happen today because I am in the presence of a deplorable Arsenal fan. I'll have everybody know. Okay. So
Red Army.
Chris, we'll not mention European trophies on this podcast. I suppose that's banned from talking
about. Yeah. Love it.
No comeback there.
Sophie's absolutely right. Normally it's a really good chat, a very serious chat with Sophie and I. And we also do one singly with Kenny, and now we've brought everyone together. And like Sophie said, who knows what's going to happen and who's knows what's going to be said on this channel today. Sophie, let's start with you. How are you feeling right now as an Arsenal fan? Because as I mentioned there, a number of fans have been moaning, about that draw at Molineux a couple of days ago, that 2-2 draw. Are Arsenal going to bottle it again?
There's a couple of things here. So first one is, for the first time this season, I actually felt gutted. And I thought to myself, wow, how lucky are we as fans to not have too many of those emotions and feelings in a football season, and we're almost to March. The Wolves game was meltdown. There's a kind of meltdown, breakdown, hit rock bottom. I actually think Wolves was rock bottom, and that now for the rest of the season, Arsenal have to be in football rehab. But are they willing to take the 12 steps or however many steps in order to kind of close this deal, right? To answer your question about the bottling thing, I find that whole narrative absurd and childish and embarrassing for media outlets, rivals, ex-pundits, ex-players. The last 3 seasons, we've challenged for the title. I don't see any other team challenging Liverpool, Manchester City. Now, we got some things wrong along the way. The first season was improbable. The second season, 23-24, we should have won it. And 24-25, ravaged with injuries, as were many other teams. Liverpool ran away with it, right? So I don't see anyone else challenging for the title. And this season, if we don't close, that tag will be difficult to defend and difficult to get away from. Because I believe if we don't win the league this season, those conversations can ensue and will be legitimate, and the team will deserve it. As of now, we're still 5 points clear, doing well in all of the cups. I think most teams, including Tottenham and Tottenham fans, will bite the hand off to be where Arsenal are right now. And so I get it, it's clickbait, it's fun, it's whatever, but it's pathetic in so many ways. Because who's doing better than the Arsenal? The only problem is, Chris, we're not playing champagne football, and that result to Wolves made it difficult for fans like me to carry on defending what we've been seeing. I think that's the truth of it, in my opinion.
Sophie, in my opinion, I think we're all very balanced football fans. No matter what team we support, we're balanced fans. When you look at it, like you've just said, 5 points clear at the top. Through to the Champions League, in the League Cup still, in the final, and of course still in the FA Cup. So fighting on all 4 fronts. Has this been an overreaction? And it was really interesting because EastEnders actor recently, Jake Wood, come out and said that if Arsenal don't win a trophy this season, he will get a huge cockerel tattooed on his back. Would you do the same?
Me? Why do these nutters make these deals with the devil in public, right?
The presenter actually said, well, you could just get a little one. And they went, no, it's going to be a big one. If we are trophyless at the end of this season, I will do that. Do you think that's going to happen?
Chris, you know that my family, crazy, right? Dad's a United fan, sister United fan, brother's a Tottenham fan, half my cousins, we're Greek, we're mixed, right? Arsenal, Tottenham. I've learned my lessons making bets and deals like that with people to not humiliate myself publicly. I think we're going to win the League Cup. And I think the League Cup is the road to the Premier League title. And maybe we'll touch on that in a little bit. But I still fancy my team, but it's very difficult to see kind of how we're going to get there. But they've got to prove it, Chris. They've got to show it. They've got to stand up and be men. Like, come on. Wolves. You couldn't hold on to a 2-0 lead against Wolves. The worst team in Premier League history, maybe. So I get it. And the next game is the North London derby. And I don't care what form anyone's in. Like Kenny says, it's the North London derby and that brings nerves. So I want our players to go out and prove a point tomorrow. If they don't deserve anything.
Gareth, let's come to you. How are you feeling right now as a Spurs fan? Because, of course, we've spoken many, many times this season on a lot of podcasts, but particularly the Premier League prediction shows, talking about Thomas Frank. You got your wish. You thought that it would be by Christmas. It was a little bit later. Igor Tudor has come in. Not many people had his name on the list, but Johan Langer, in a recent interview with journalists, he's come out and said, well, if he does well, he could be a here for some time at Tottenham. What do you make of this appointment for the next 12 games and, of course, the 2 Champions League games as well?
I think a change was inevitable after the Newcastle game. I think it would have been after the Man City game, only for the fight back in the second half. I think Gary Neville referenced that on the overlap with Ange Postecoglou and some of the other guests that were on. It probably ran on a little bit longer than it should have done. I think it was pretty obvious, probably as early as that Chelsea game back in early November. And then you think about the Arsenal game just after that it was just never going to work for Thomas Frank going down that route of his style of play. Tottenham fans, like Arsenal fans, demand a certain style of play. And whilst there's no similarities in the league position, there is similarities in terms of what fans expect. And I think a lot of the Arsenal fans have been a little bit disgruntled, as Sophie mentioned there, about the style of playing, how they're winning games, with it being own goal or a set piece. And they want that kind of flamboyance that Arsenal had under Wenger. Even Arteta, that first season, they challenged right up until April and they fell away with Saliba getting injured. Arsenal were playing some great football that season, and I think all those top teams, they always reference themselves as the big six. We've seen it with Man United over the years that they've been a little bit unhappy with the counter-attack. They want to go back to the old way, kind of the way Michael Carrick's been doing it since he come back in. So I think when you're a big club, you are expected to play a certain style of play. Igor Tudor has come out and says that he's going to be offensive. He wants to attack, and I think, look, I like to read it when I see it. Anyone can come out and make. Thomas Frank says he was going to play attacking football. All these managers are very good at saying the right things, but it's what you see on the pitches is dictates your feelings. So it's a huge game to come Monday. Is it the right game to come Monday? Possibly, because the fans want to see a reaction from the team. If you can't get up for Arsenal at home, what game can you get up for? Yes, we're in a relegation battle, make no mistake about it. Arsenal are going for a Premier League title. So there's, taking out what Kenny says about the North London Derby, there's a lot more at stake than just the North London Derby here for both teams. So I think it's a very intriguing game. And I think it's very important that Igor Tudor gets off to a great start, because he does have this record. I think he's been at clubs where he's only lasted 9 games. So we've got 12 games in the Premier League left and at least 2 in the Champions League. That's 14 games. So that's a third of the season, really. This manager, if it doesn't start well, he could well end up not being, he might even be here post April or May. So it'll be a fascinating watch, because he does seem like a very controversial character and someone like in the mold of Antonio Conte, who, if it doesn't go in his way, he's the type to just completely walk away from it. So I think he will get a reaction out of the players. I think where Thomas Frank had that standoffish sort of nicey approach, I think you'll see a completely different approach from this manager, Igor Tudor, and I think he will really go on there and try and shake a few of the Tottenham players. We've heard so many reports about, the lackadaisical nature and the changing room, and I think Thomas Frank mentioned after the Arsenal away game that he wanted players in at a certain time and they arrived late. I don't think this manager will allow that to happen, but it's all about how the players react. I think if you go and get a positive result against Arsenal, then the players maybe buy into the manager a little bit more. But if Arsenal come and roll us over, I think that's a very difficult position for Igor Tudor to pick the team up from. Going back, Chris, to what Sophie says, and I agree with a lot what she says about, this bottling tag, and what Premier League football club going for their first, that haven't won a Premier League title for so long, get it easy. You're always going to have sticky moments in that season. You're always going to have tests of character. And this is a massive test of Arsenal's character on Sunday, coming to Tottenham Hotspur Stadium after dropping those points against Wolves. Can they respond? And that will tell you a lot more about Arsenal on Sunday, I think. If they go there and win convincingly, you'll say, well, that was a brilliant response to the setback. I always judge title-winning teams or potential title-winning teams on how they recover from a setback. Arsenal have to go and show everyone that they're still very much the favourites for this title on Sunday. And that'll be a big test for the players and the manager, because I think Arteta's second-guessing himself a few times this season. He doesn't want to open up games too much. He knows that set-piece strength is in the locker. If they keep a clean sheet, they're always likely to score a goal. Will he open up this game a little bit more on Sunday and take the game to Spurs? It's a very intriguing tactical setup that Arteta comes with, and I think Spurs should be ready for an Arsenal backlash, and if they aren't, they could come unstuck against this Arsenal team we appointed proof.
Gareth, just very quickly, who's going to win the Premier League this season?
I've said all along, Man City, just down to the experience. And I think if you go back, Chris, a few years ago when Spurs last beat Arsenal in that January window, Bentancur and Kulusevski probably got Spurs the top 4. Arsenal didn't do anything that January. Those 2 players had a brilliant impact. You look at the impact Semenyo's made. Ruben Dias has come back and now partnered up with Gahey. I think that's a very strong back pairing. Arsenal have had the strength and depth of the defence all season. I think Man City now have got their best 2 centre-backs available for the business end of the season. So I think if Man City do go on, they want it. Yes, experience will be important, but I think you'll look at that January window as a significant moment, bringing in 2 top players.
Yep, I agree. And I've said that all season, actually, from the very first month of the campaign. I've said that Man City will win the Premier League title. Let's wait and see what happens. Kenny, let's come to you. How are you feeling right now? Because Sophie mentioned there about, the recent results and the way that the fan base are feeling. I know there's a lot of... people talking about, bottle jobs, and I'm using your fans' words, not ours. How are you feeling right now about the title race?
Well, I think I was the one who invented the word bottle jobs because
probably
after Brighton 2023, I went up to Perry Groves in the press box and I was screaming at him. I said, we bottled that. And right behind me was Oliver Holt. Within half an hour, I pick up the Daily Mail online. Arsenal fans. An Arsenal fan was screaming to an ex-player, saying that Arsenal bottled the title. And then I saw him and he said, you nipped my line. He said, don't worry, I'll take you out for a drink and reward you, but thanks for that. Thanks for the assist. But the problem with Arsenal is that this is not a vintage Man City.
I knew it was a deplorable.
It was me. I started it. I was the one. Come on, you must have known I'd have done that.
Bro, come on, man.
Come on, you know me. I can't. Come on, I'm basically first lieutenant in the Rat Army. Come on, you knew it was me. Just like Gary Neville, when that time when Gary Neville had the Arsenal fans in Notts when he had them on Sky TV, and he was saying that Robbie was the big black guy that was screaming and shouting about Wenger. Well, not all black people look the same, but guess who the black guy was? It was me, screaming and shouting Wenger out and having a policeman out to calm me down and say it was Arsenal. Come on. I'm the one who hides in the background, like I said, loading the bullets and someone else fires them. Come on, you must know that, sis.
Yeah, I mean,
But on a serious kind of level, the fact is that these Man City sides from 22, 23, 23, 24 that won the league, they're not a patch on the sides that won the league in 2018 and 2019. They've got an aggregate 198 points. Yes, they won a treble in 22 and 23, but I tell you now, that team that got 100 points is levels above that team, even with Haaland in it. And the team that won it the year afterwards, when they got 98 and 97 points to Liverpool's, is levels above that team. When you've got the opportunity to win the league in your hands, like Leicester City did in 2016, you take it, regardless of the experience. And then when you have a situation as when you draw against Man City in 23-24, and you're still got the goal difference, you've got the points, you've got to see it through. But the thing with Arsenal fans now is that no one's talking about a process because of Berta's inclusion as sporting director, because we allegedly have 2 players for every position. We've got a deep, deep squad, allegedly. That's why Arsenal fans had their meltdowns last week and on Wednesday. And that's why they're going to trepidation and thinking, you know what, 2 points behind, Man City being 2 points, with having to play us, that's not what we sign up for, because we should be out of it. 10 points out of 21. When we've had many opportunities to go 8 points ahead of Man City, we dropped the ball. To go 11 points behind Man City, we dropped the ball. And that's why there's a lot of people on all sides now having second thoughts, because at the end of the day, we've had false dawns. Beating you 4-1 was a false dawn. I say this respectfully in your show, but you were a joke. I do videos for you every week, Chris, to be a spy on Tottenham. and you know my feelings and how I thought you played. The week later at Stamford Bridge against 10 men, we can't beat them. They looked like the team that was going to run away with it. Then you had the Brentford, were pathetic, we beat them, and then you had the crawling over the line against Wolves, the mighty Wolves at the Emirates. Then you had the Everton game, and you had Brighton. Then we had another forestall, the second game against Aston Villa, and then we've had two other forestalls. Basically Leeds and South Sunderland, and then we've gone back to bad performances. But a lot of that is to do with the fact that we've got too many players coming back from injury, and it takes about 4 or 5 games for them to get back to their full fitness. And then we've got the conundrum with players out of form. So to us, I can understand why the bottle tag is coming our way, and I can understand why fans are feeling it and getting worried, because we just look knackered. We just look knackered. Even when we play you, I said on the video that I did with you, that I gave you on Thursday, I still believe it. Yes, was I out of order? Damn right I was out of order. Slagging off my own team on a Spurs channel. Of course I was out of order. But I genuinely believe this is a good time for you lot to play us. I still am. And I still say, if we play like we've been playing since the Sunderland game, away that is, and you, with your new manager bounce, when you're invigorated and revitalised, and you come out and do the 3 basics well against us, i.e. keep the ball well, get in their faces and get bodies forward, that what we've seen since Sunderland is that's good enough to get a point at least. And if you play at your skins, you beat us, because we haven't been able to cope with teams that have those 3 disciplines. So I stand by what I said. In saying that, with Tottenham, you've got too many injuries, but you guys be heroes amongst your fans if you stop us from winning the league. That'd be your fans' motivation, it won't be yours. So, game on.
Kenny, of course, the last 3 Premier League campaigns, Arsenal finished second.
Yes.
Do you believe that this season is your time? Do you think that Arsenal will be lifting the Premier League?
If you're in a title race and you're leading the title race significantly, i.e. 8 points ahead, going into the Liverpool game on Easter Sunday, then it is your time.
But I asked that because the pattern, if the pattern continues of Manchester City, winning so many points in their final 12 games of the last 3 Premier League campaigns, it looks like City will win the title. Kenny, Sophie, do you both believe that you're going to win the title this season?
Pre-Wolves, I think the answer from most Arsenal fans was they were feeling confident. But I also think there's a side of Arsenal fans that are a little bit like me, and I think Kenny may sit on this and he'll tell you, but I truly, and someone made a comment about it, I said, no, I didn't say the Carabao Cup's more important than Premier League. I think we have to win the Carabao Cup if we're going to win the Premier League. Arsenal's problem, Chris, guys, isn't football. It's mental. We're mentally impotent. And I really, truly believe that we overcame the impotence this season. Mikel felt different on the sideline. We had emotion, but we weren't too emotional. It felt like we knew who we were in every competition. We're going to play like this in the Champions League. We're going to do this in the domestic cups. And this is how we're going to try and win the Premier League this season. Little risk and try and get all the rewards. Get into the Carabao Cup final. These players, Chris, they don't know what it tastes like, smells like to win, kiss each other, hug each other, celebrate, have a parade. It's like the I always say Alec Baldwin, Glengarry Glen Ross always be closing. We haven't been able to do that. They don't know what it feels like. So I truly think you win the Carabao Cup. It's a totally different essence for this Arsenal team, for these players together. To then from March 22nd onwards, and you have to face City at the Etihad April 18th. You can't go into any of that with a mental breakdown. Losing the cup final, having that emotion come over you, starting to believe the whole bottler narrative again. You've lost it. Now, mentally, I think after Wolves, we were shot. I haven't liked seeing our players after some of those games, Brentford, Villa earlier on in the season, this one on their hands and their knees. Get up. You're fighting for a title. Get off your knees. And I truly think in order for this to change, they got to win that Carabao Cup. Otherwise, no, we will not win the league.
I must say, I'm a little bit surprised that not even one of you, let alone both of you, didn't answer that question straight away and say, yes, we're confident of winning the league.
Yeah, well, the thing you've got to remember the thing, Chris. This league's got integrity. You know, everyone talks about farmers' leagues. One thing about this league is that the team at the bottom of the table has just shown that they competed with the team that's top of the table, and they did it not just on their own ground; they did it at the Emirates. The fact is that we can go to like West Ham at the end of the season, and they could have that day where they can beat us, and that's why you can never take things for granted in this league. You know, everyone thought we were going to beat Brentford. We didn't beat them. You know, Man United were meant to be like this wash side. They absolutely mullered us at the Emirates. We got mullered, and then the first game of the season, had they not had their shooting boots, we could have dropped points. Might have even lost that game, but we won. We won one. We took our single chance and saw the game out. So it's not easy. And of course, it's Arsenal. We're basically having injuries at the wrong time to key players. We're basically running on empty at the wrong time. So, that.
I don't think we can make that excuse this season, Kenny.
Yeah, but
injuries.
You say that, but the problem is that the only person, Sis, that doesn't think we've got a deep squad
is our manager.
Yeah, our manager. That's what I said.
Yeah.
He doesn't believe we've got a deep squad. He doesn't believe that Eze can give him 90 minutes in a, how do I say it, 6-pointer. He doesn't trust Eze. He didn't trust Ranieri. He doesn't trust Miles Lewis-Skelly. He's at 6 and 7 with Gyökeres. He's praying that Havertz comes back from injury. Yet this is the Havertz that nearly got handed out of the club after the Man United game. So it's the manager. And another thing as well, he sucks the joy out of the way we play. He's like Pep. He sucks the joy out of creativity. It's just like system. Oh, don't give the ball away. Don't let us overload. That's how we play. We say.
But then when we batter Villa, right, after being embarrassed by them, we batter Leeds, then you Champions League, we batter Atletico, we batter Inter Milan, we win every single game. Look at the difference is, guys, is why can't we do it? Because we've shown we can do it. He's afraid to do it in a sense, and we're afraid of the Premier League. Arsenal Football Club are afraid to win the Premier League title. Yeah. And it's the one that we have to win to get the monkey off our back. Otherwise, none of this changes.
It's the only trophy that matters. Let me tell you something now. I'm going to say it now because I've said it in front of my Finsbury Park sister, and I've said it on every Arsenal show. And you can clip me up if you want. I couldn't give a rat's ass about the Champions League.
Me too.
The FA Cup or the League Cup. I want this title.
I care about the League Cup.
Because if you win the title, you're the best. You're the best. No arguments. There's none of this Champions League where you finish fourth and you win the league and you prayed it all the way down in Hammersmith Town Centre when you shouldn't have been in the competition in the first place. You win the league, 38 games. 38 games. London derbies home and away. Going to Anfield, going to Old Trafford, going to all these hard grounds. You're the best, and no one can take it away from you. You could win. Well, I was going to say you could win the Champions League, and we win the league. No. You guys can never win the Champions League in my lifetime. But
they nearly did.
Kenny, if I know Sophie was talking about I know Sophie was talking about parades earlier. If you watch that parade in May, incredible, absolutely incredible. We'll talk about that again in a minute. But if we're going to clip it up, Kenny, both you and Sophie blanked the question when I, asked you, will you win the Premier League title? Let me put it another way. Where will Arsenal finish in the Premier League table this season?
We'll finish in the top two.
Chris,
Fair enough.
let
Last week,
me, Chris, I think I don't know. I beat City at the Etihad. You want to be champions, right? I will stand on my ground on the Carabao Cup. But you want to be champions? Manage your madness. Beat City at the Etihad. That's what champions do. That's what they do. And that's what we have to do in order to finally kind of, bring down the Pep beast. And do it now. While I was having a discussion with someone the other day, they want to win the league title while Pep is still here. I go, I don't care. I just want to win it. Who cares who's manager of Man City or Liverpool? But there are some fans that care, that they want to win it while Pep, you haven't slayed the dragon yet. We got to slay our own dragon, us, first. This is nonsense. All this noise. Just win the title. Who cares how it gets done? Just do it. And I think we can. But again, mentally, it's going to be tough.
Are you going to say top
I'm
two
going to
as
say
well?
we're going to win the title. Cut me up, chop me up, bring it back. End of May, whenever you want, when we're in the Champions League final, however you want to distribute your content that day, you go ahead and, be Sophie saying, listen, we're on our way to doing a double. Why not?
Okay. Right. Let's move on to talk about Spurs. Because at the moment, the time of recording, Spurs are only 4 points above the relegation zone. It's been a really, really tough season for Tottenham. Gareth, let's start with you on this. Igor Tudor, he was asked a direct question, will Spurs be in the Premier League next season? And he said 100%. How confident are you that Spurs are going to get a number of good results, picking up a number of points to come away from that relegation zone? Because, in recent weeks, we've seen West Ham pick up a number of points, Leeds United, Forest, Burnley are even picking up points. Are Spurs going to do enough in the next 12 matches?
Based on what we've seen this season, and if you go back to last season, ones have been pretty scarce. Looking at, we can all talk about injuries, but there's no doubt that that's played a part. It's become to the stage where we're barely able to get 11 players out on a pitch. What are the reasons behind those? We'll never know to the full extent. But that has definitely played a part in this demise. Yes, we've been poor, but I don't think we would be in a relegation battle if we had more of these players available. Having said that, the management from the club, from the coaching staff to the players' performances have not been acceptable either. So everyone has to take their fair share of blame on it. I'll be pretty concerned if the manager had us as 50-50 on his press conference. And look, being Tottenham Hotspur, we haven't been in my lifetime. I'm 28 years of age. Supporting Spurs, we haven't been in a relegation battle. If you go back further, maybe we were in the 90s or so. But what worries me is the fact that West Ham and Nottingham Forest look capable of winning games again, and we're going to have to match those teams to get out of this. Up until a couple of months ago, it looked as if we picked up 1-1 out of every 5 or 6, we would have enough. But the landscape's changed, and if these teams keep picking up points, it's going to make it very difficult. So I think a lot of it comes down to Sunday. If we get beat on Sunday, we're not relegated, of course. But I think if we were to win on Sunday, I think that would be a springboard to survival. I can't imagine us beating Arsenal and being relegated in the same season. But look, as Jamie Carragher said in his article, you're never too big to go down. We're in a relegation battle. We've got 12 games to fix it. We've got some difficult games in there. We've got to go to Anfield and Stamford Bridge, two grounds who, have been an absolute graveyard for us. So, this is the start of the renaissance, hopefully, of Spurs' season on Sunday. I even think, not that I'm going to settle for a draw, but I think even a draw will be a positive start for the new manager. And you take that into the next game. And I just think winning would give everybody a lift. The players, the fans, I can't think of too many moments since Bilbao where the fans and the players and the management staff have all been together. But I think if we were to do that on Sunday, it would be a special moment in the stadium. I've no doubt the fans will get on the team side. We've got to start well. And we've got to make it very difficult for Arsenal. It can't be a repeat of what happened in November. And if it is, then you would really worry, because if they don't understand what this game means in a one-off game in terms of the North London derby to the fans and how big this could be in terms of, Sophie talked about sort of big moments in the season, and I agree with her with the League Cup final. I think psychologically it will be massive for Arsenal if they go and win that. And I think very similar here for Spurs. If they can beat Arsenal, then who's to say they can't beat anyone between now and the end of the season to stay up?
I will be off social media. I don't know. That's when it will be like done. If you beat us on Sunday, it's so over on so many levels for so many things. The layers just go.
Yep. Yep.
I shudder to think at the thought of losing on Sunday.
The thing is that the way we've been playing in terms of the inconsistency, the way that we're struggling against teams of just doing really the basics. The fact is,
struggling going 1-0 up, Kenny.
Yeah, we're not holding leads because we're inviting pressure. We're not even from our shape. All these things that they praise us for, saying that Arsenal can't be overloaded. We get overloaded. Teams get bodies forward. I still say the Sunderland game was like, for me, it was like when I thought, oh no, we're going back to the bad old days of last season. They really, really open up a way for teams to imitate the way to actually play Arsenal. Before that, 2 weeks before we played on Fulham, and it was a case of, Arsenal are going to break the defensive record of Chelsea, 15 goals, blah, blah. Since Sunderland, it's very rare if we keep a clean sheet. Very rare. And that's one of the things that we basically celebrate the fact that our defence was going to be the team that wins us the league. But at this moment of time, we are so fallible. Mm-hmm. You only have to look at the Brentford game. People were shocked, but you got to remember one thing: Brentford keep the ball well, and they had the fourth ingredient as well. They had a forward who basically can create something out of nothing, and he was.
They just lost 2-0 at home.
I know. That's the absurdity of it. That they played probably one of their best performances all season, and they get beaten. But that's the nature of the beast. Teams are going to raise their game because it's Arsenal.
Yeah.
These guys, I tell you now, you ain't gonna recognise that performance against Newcastle or those performances where they go 2-0 down in the second half. There's a grandstand finish. You won't recognise Sarr or Basuma tomorrow. They'll be absolutely up for it. The only weakness is their goalie.
To be honest, though, Kenny, the performances can't be any worse. They were so bad.
Yeah, but the thing is, you've got an added incentive, because I'll tell you one thing now. Any coach watching Arsenal play against Wolves, Brentford, and watching us at Arsenal since the Sun away game, if you don't look at that and think, right, these are ways we can hurt this team, that's neglect. That is willful refusal. That is cultural neglect. You really should be watching how teams are keeping the ball, how they're organised against us, and how they're using physical strength to match us physically.
Just watch the last 20 minutes of the Wolves game in the second half.
If you don't take anything from that, then that is culpable neglect. I'm not trying to be your coach. I'm just saying that we're not as good as everyone thinks we are at the moment.
Can I just ask you both, Kenny, to start with you? You wouldn't want Spurs relegated, would you?
Wait, so I can get a talk with you every at least 4 times. At least 4 times. Look, you're not getting relegated, all right? This fallacy and this idiocy about Spurs getting relegated. There's, when I've got a list of things, right, where I have 5 things that are never going to happen. You're not going to get relegated. Not a chance.
Stop giving them hope. Nah.
Well, give us the 3 points on Sunday. That's simple then, isn't it?
No, you got to earn them. You got to earn them. Like I said, don't give me's in life, mate. Earn that yourselves.
No, but the North London derby is the biggest game on the calendar for all of us fans. Sophie, you wouldn't want to see Spurs relegated, would you?
I could go a season skipping a North London derby. I wouldn't mind. How about you get a year off, and then you bounce back and we resume the North London derby a season later. I mean, this would be the biggest story in English football for a long, long time. Everyone thought it was going to be Manchester United. So let me switch this to you guys. Do you think you'd be in this position in the league if maybe you just stuck with Ange for another season?
Good question. And I think that I would answer that I keep repeating myself on this channel, talking about 2019. Pochettino, talking about the stadium, talking about the mansion, put the furniture in the mansion, and we never have. Every single time we have let a player or sold a player of a certain quality, they have never, ever been an upgrade of the player coming in. And that has been a really, really frustrating point. And particularly when you go back to May about us winning the Europa League, that was meant to be a springboard for more success. And the club even said about they wanted to fight on all fronts. And we're nowhere near in that position to be fighting on all fronts. And it's really, really frustrating. Hence why there is so much frustration and disconnect at the moment amongst the fan base. And when you look at, since 2019 of moving in a new stadium, we've had 6 permanent managers, 4 interim appointments. We can't keep going on like this. Something drastic needs to change.
Well, I'll tell you what needs to happen, Chris. The thing is, right, you haven't recovered from the Ernie Scholar days where you went into financial debt. You had to be bailed out by Terry Venables and Sugar. And Sugar was a very frugal chairman. And since then, Enoch had not been any different. The amount of players you've lost out on because you don't pay Premiership wages. We had that at Arsenal under Wenger where we weren't getting certain players because we're not paying Premiership wages. Now we're doing that. We're keeping Saka. We're keeping our better players. We're getting players, if you like Kai Havertz. You're not going to get these players to elevate you where you should be until you start paying Premiership wages.
Yep.
That was the same thing that happened to Poch. It happened to Harry Redknapp. It was happening, Ange mentioned it. You haven't recovered from the Irving Scholar days. And until you start getting an owner, firstly, it's going to get the best people. You had the managers. Now you've got to get the players. Until you start paying a player 150,000 a week, 200 grand a week, the players will come. Because what players do at Tottenham, they will use Spurs as a stepping stone to go on to better things and earn more money.
Like Van der Ven.
You should be the destination. You're one of the biggest clubs in the country. When I grew up, the big five was Tottenham.
Yeah.
35 years, you're still doing the same things. You're still going on like you're in financial trouble. You've got NFL, you've got rugby league, you've got the boxing, you've got money coming out all parts of your body. Pay your players top dollar or you'll fall behind.
Sophie, can I come back to you on that point? Because funny enough, a former Arsenal man who I want to ask you about as well, Vinay Venkatesham, he said in the programme notes, a 2-page message to the fans stating that, we need to have more leadership in this team. We need more quality. He also touched on what Kenny just mentioned there about the wage structure that needs to improve. And they've come out and, addressed that and said, this is what we need to do. But of course, it is always about actions, not words. How well received and respected was Vinay at Arsenal?
So, by the way, did Vinay make those comments before or after Ange's overlap interview?
Before, way before.
Before, okay. I actually got to spend a bit of time with Vinay when we were on the US tours. And I'll never forget this conversation that I had with him. It was, and you and I have talked about this, Chris. It was, Ozil was still there at the time, and it was in the Pochettino. I think a few months after Tottenham were coming to the US, and they were doing all their preseason at LA Galaxy Stadium, and we were talking with Vinay, and we weren't in a good place at that time. We had apathetic players. You could see there was disdain from Arsenal fans of who we were becoming in the Premier League, especially. It goes back to that. And I can't remember if it was the Champions League final year, that tour. And I was standing with him and he was talking about all of these things that they want to do. And one of the things Arsenal do really well is they talk a lot about what they want to do, but they don't always deliver that, right? It's the same, like Declan Rice coming out and saying we had a stern meeting. Dude, I wanted to see pictures on social media and stories with a play with a black eye after that Wolves game. I wanted a punch up in the dressing room. Stop having these like nice meetings with tea and scones and start beating each other up. And you guys know what I mean by that. We had Marcus Gale on the show on Thursday and he was talking about, you know, back in the day in the 90s, he goes, you would never have that now. He's involved with Brentford as an ambassador, but he was talking about his Wimbledon days and even his Brentford days.
Yeah.
So I said to Vinay, I said, listen, I literally pleaded with him face to face. And I said, that lot down the road, we can't have this. We're falling behind. We were falling behind you. You had the shiny new toy. The stadium was coming. Pochettino, Champions League final. You were beating us. I dreaded playing Tottenham during the Pochettino years. You had Kane and Son on fire. It was a scary time. We had Mustafi in defense, Sokratis Babastolopoulos. We had all these players, apathy everywhere. And he assured me that this is what we're doing. And he had conviction and he was kind and he was strategic and he was talking about objectives. And he said, you will see. The time will come and it will happen. I couldn't see it at the time and it did. So Vinay's a very smart guy who felt like his ceiling was done at Arsenal. And I think a lot of the times, you know, when people like him leave a club, they've got bigger things to say or do, or they want more power to be able to execute, you know, their own vision. And Vinay was the beginning of a change. But then there wasn't it, Kenny? There was that you still had the guy Raul there who had bought Pepe, and there was controversy over that. So I think Vinay came into Arsenal at a time where there was still stuff going on in the background, and he did as much as he could. And when you hired him, I was bummed because I've met the man and I've spent time with him, and he is super smart and he knows what he's talking about. And commercially, he was trying to make Arsenal better. And I think, like, you know, maybe like Adu, their time had come to an end and it was time to move on. But I think he's a really smart guy. I don't know how Spurs fans feel about him, but he was definitely part of something that has become Arsenal today. He was part of that at the beginning.
I second that. Yeah, we have got some organisation. We have got the sort of structure, because when Arsene was there, Arsene was the alpha and omega. There was no such sporting director. There wasn't, you know, like Eric, you know, like a defined style of play, what was basically like tiki-taka. And all these things that behind the scenes that Chelsea were doing, when Abramovich joined the club, and also what Man City were doing under the Sheikhs. They had this one structure where there was the end goal was to win the Champions League and win the league. Wenger was very much in the way of all of that. And I said that when Wenger left the club, we're going to have to not just restructure that. We've got to appoint people we've never appointed before in our life because of this man. That's why I've got a lot of resentment for Arsene Wenger. To me, Arsene Wenger's not a great Arsenal manager because of what he did once to my club. I'll never forgive him because of the you know, the fact that we've had to wait a long, long time to build before we had any success to actually put the structure in. That should never happen at a club like Arsenal. But the thing with Tottenham, you're going to have that because of the mentality. And that's the thing. You shouldn't have players ooming and ahhing about coming to Tottenham with your history. They shouldn't, but they are, because you're basically not paying the wages. You could have got players like Gahey, Semenyo. What was that with Eze? I had remember that time we had a talk. I was on your show 2 years ago, and we had a little discussion. You said Eze was a guest at the North London Derby in 24. Why didn't you sign him? What was going on? Bet you it's the wages.
Yeah.
And all these players that have been going to Arsenal, all these that you should have been getting or could have been getting, you don't get them because of the wage structure. What are you scared of? Are you still got these trauma about Scholar? Every Scholar's left your club a long time ago. You know, Sugar and Venables, they're all gone. You've got no excuses not to pay players Premiership wages. You're tight.
Well, I think it's always about the next transfer window, Kenny, and again, it's going to be about the summer transfer window. So let's see, where the ambition.
You should be getting top. If you're playing the Champions League, you should be getting top Championship winners. You're a London club where you've got access to the West End. You've got a 62,000 stadium, all seat up. Why are you not being part? Why are you not acting like a big club? Why?
Yep. Gareth, let's come to you. I want to talk about the injuries at Tottenham because, hence why, Spurs are 16th in the Premier League table. We've had a lot of injuries. We've had a lot of injuries as well under Ange Postecoglou. So this has been a continued theme in the last couple of years. 10 players out at the moment. Porro, Danso, Udogi, Kudus, Bergvall, Odebear, Kulusevski, Maddison, Bentancur and Davis. When Igor Tudor was asked in the press conference about style of play, he seemed quite surprised and said, style of play, we are in an emergency situation right now in terms of, how many players we have available. I think he said that there's 13 players available, fit and ready. And also, when you look at what an impact that Tudor normally makes going into clubs, the last 5 appointments, he's won his first game. What are you expecting on Sunday?
Well, when you speak about style of play, what is it that Spurs fans want at the moment? And it's a winning style of play. However, we win games at the moment because, as you say, we're in an emergency situation. If we play brilliant football over the next 12 games, but don't win any games, we're relegated. So it's about winning games of football at this stage now. And yes, he's famous for getting a reaction out of struggling groups. You think about, he was obviously sussed because of that. They can speak about long-term appointments and if he does well. For me, this has been brought on because they believe he can get a quick reaction out of these players. If Spurs won 5 of their next 7 games, they're safe, and that's what they're looking for. I think it's been well documented that if he is going to keep us up, he's going to have to start with at least 3 or 4 wins in those first 7 games, you think, for it to continue on. The injuries have played a massive part, as you mentioned. You think about the players you've rhymed off there, and I know Richarlison's coming back, or he would have been named there as well. And a lot of those injuries, every club can speak about injuries, and I don't want to make excuses because it hasn't been good enough. But a lot of the injuries have been long-term injuries, Chris. We're not talking 3 or 4 weeks. We're talking 3 or 4 months. And a lot of those players would definitely make Spurs a better football team for any manager that's been in. I've been critical of Thomas Frank, and there's no doubt if he had more availability, then it might have been a little bit different. But fit-wise, I don't think it was ever the right appointment. Ange Postecoglou, he's said a lot in his overlap podcast, and whilst I liked Ange and I backed him a lot, there was a lot of flaws in his system and how he went about winning matches. But again, injuries dictated how poor the second half of last season was, really. He found a way to won that Europa League, which was unbelievable for us, Chris. We were there in Bilbao, unbelievable, and we really thought that this would be the start of Spurs going back to how they were under Pochettino. Yes, we didn't win any trophies under Pochettino, but we were going in the right direction. But I think sacking Ange was a mistake. When you think about how the players reacted, the players, whilst they maybe didn't think he was a top coach, he was a brilliant man manager and he was a brilliant speaker, and the players really bought into him. You only have to look at how the players reacted when he was sacked. Every player, thanked him. And a lot of reports were that they really enjoyed the training, the style of play. Yes, at times they were crucified because of how he was going about it with so many players missing. But for the majority of Ange's reign, Spurs were a fun watch. And, I think he made a massive point that losing Harry Kane just before the first league game of his first season, that was going to have a detrimental effect on the club, not just the manager that was going to be in charge, but Harry Kane was the face of Spurs and he wasn't replaced. Richarlison was there, then Solanke come on. He's been injured as well. We've had 2 injury-prone strikers. Heung-min Son has left the club. So we've lost some big names in that time. And Sophie and Kenny have talked about the leadership at Arsenal. You don't really look at that Tottenham team and think there's any leaders in there. Yes, Romero talks a lot on social media, but he lets us down as many times as he has great moments for us. Since Harry Kane's left, there hasn't really been that leader in there. And yes, he was criticised as well, but he led by example in a quiet way. I think what the guys spoke about, Declan Rice strikes you as a great character and somebody who works hard, but as he had Tony Adams, as he had Patrick Vieira, I don't sense that with Declan Rice. And I think with Martin Odegaard's your captain, there's a lot of question marks around that. He doesn't strike you as that character that's going to, as Sophie mentioned, organise a punch up in the dressing room, as maybe a Tony Adams would or a Roy Keane would at Man United. And yes, there's a dying breed of characters like that in football. But if you think about somebody like Van Dijk at Liverpool, I don't think Spurs have anyone like that at the club from top to bottom. And that has definitely impacted this demise of Tottenham. There's been a lot of poor recruitment with players. There's been a lot of poor recruitment with managers. We've seen so many changes with directors of football, chief executives. It's just been a real mess. And I think Kenny made some great points about, that Pochettino era where Spurs didn't go for the top players. From my understanding now, recently they have been trying to sign the top players like Gahey, like Semenyo, but the reality is we're not an attractive offer for those players. They've got better offers elsewhere. If you've got, yes, Arsenal are a bigger club than Tottenham, but I think 5 years ago, if a player was asked, do you want to go to Spurs or Arsenal, he probably would have picked Spurs because they were on an upward trajectory, whereas Arsenal were struggling under the end of Wenger, and Unai Emery was chased out the door, and Arteta was only starting. He was an inexperienced manager, albeit a disciple of Pep, but we didn't really know a lot about him. Whereas Spurs had a traction where they were playing great football with Pochettino. The new stadium was there, Champions League final. I think we were a really attractive option. But I think now you look at teams like Newcastle and Aston Villa, they're seen as a more attractive option than Spurs, not because they're a bigger club, because they're a better club than us at the moment. And we can talk about history and trophies, but for me, players will always look short term and what's going to happen at that football club in the next 2 to 3 years. If you're joining Arsenal now, you're not joining because of the Invincibles. You're joining because you think this team can win a trophy in the next couple of years or this season. Whereas with Tottenham, if you're joining there now, you're thinking, am I going to a club that's on a complete decline? Champions League, it might even get European football. We really thought that trophy in Bilbao would change things, but I think injuries have definitely played a part, a poor choice of manager in Thomas Frank, but we're not an attractive football club, and we're going to have to really recruit well to get us back to a level where we can attract top players and then do what Kenny says and commit the big wages, big transfer fees, and back the guys on the recruitment team, because we've missed out on so many players. Eze Hammond, we didn't close that Eze deal, but I think Eze probably had it in the background that Arsenal were going to be coming on from at some stage. And as soon as Arsenal come in, the deal was done because Eze was always going to pick Arsenal over Spurs. And I think that's a situation that Tottenham run at the moment as a football club. We've got to find a way to get through this rubble and then slowly build, going back to being a consistent Champions League club. And then we become a more attractive option for players and we come up to those fees and wages.
You guys have also bought poorly, haven't you? You've had money to spend, but you've recruited poorly. But one of the things I was always jealous of was the Kane-Son relationship, because we've seen that at Arsenal. We've dominated in the same way. The fact that Tottenham wasted the Kane and Son years should be investigated as a crime, as a Premier League football crime. Because now looking back on it, you can talk about it differently. But Kenny will tell you as well, in the moment, I mean, the two, they frightened us. And that era, like I said, that Pochettino era and Kane and Son. And I just thought, when you got to the Champions League final, I was like, how is this happening? How is this happening? It was sickening. And it was sickening because your team's not playing. You can't control anything. And the fact that you even had that day out pissed us off. Yeah. That you were able to enjoy something like that. And it's a crime, really, how you haven't gone on to build. Kane should still be at Tottenham. He shouldn't have had to go to Bayern Munich to get his his trophy. You guys were so close and blew it.
Sophie, was your TV off in May when Spurs played in Bilbao and that trophy parade?
I went long, mate. I went Forrest Gump. When Forrest Gump runs in the film, and he's just like, he just doesn't come back. He just keeps going. That's why.
I'll tell you what. I'll tell you one thing, right, sis. It was an absolute eyesore, and you see, and Darren says it all. When people say that Spurs are not our rivals, and that, why are you worried about Spurs?
Yeah.
It was a UEFA Cup. It had nothing to do with us. But the amount of Arsenal fans you went absolutely ballistic when you beat Man City and Man United and Bilbao. I repeat, it had nothing to do with us. We were fighting amongst ourselves.
It's true.
Because you beat Man United. We were angry. We wanted to kill the manager. We wanted to kill everyone who was behind the manager. You don't realise, right, how much your success in Europe gets to us. You won 4 trophies. We've won 2. And some of you guys try to fight me when I say it's 2 because you guys trying to say the Fairs Cup isn't a European trophy. I've had to defend the Fairs Cup. That's how bad it is. And
the Cup Winners' Cup. It's scraping the barrel a bit, though, isn't it?
Here we go again.
Back in the day, come on, the Cup Winners' Cup.
Hey, you know what we could do? 1963, they were the first English Cup to win, first British Cup to win a trophy. Beat in 63. We're going to wipe that off the record now because Chris said so.
I love it.
So that's 3-1 then. Sorry.
I was, Arsenal fans actually got in an argument, a fight, because I had friends who didn't understand why some Arsenal fans weren't pissed off that you won the Europa League. Like massive arguments. What do you mean you're not mad? You should be mad. And it's like, what are you talking about? They just won the Europa League. Doesn't mean, to me, I'm like, I thought, well done. I mean, you could say what you want about Ange. If it's true that all we talk of is football's about winning trophies, of course, experiences and all that. But if it's about winning trophies, Ange did something that not even Conte or Mourinho could do. Mourinho wasn't given the chance because he was sacked the week before the League Cup final. That tells it's a madness, you know.
Well, he rubbed shoulders with Bill Nicholson and Keith Birkinshaw, and that's not bad company to be in, is it?
No, not at all. And fans don't get this.
He's not a great first manager, is he? King Terry Venables, I tell.
Right, tell.
Right, Gareth, I'm coming back to you because predicted lineup for Sunday. Now, the Premier League have predicted this. Vicario in goal, Van der Ven, Dragusin, Polinia, Archie Gray, Spence, Sarr, Conor Gallagher, Simmons, Mawani and Solanke. Now, of course, we are down to bare bones, but this is still a decent team. Do we have enough to get the 3 points or indeed a draw at the Tottenham Hotspur Stadium? Gareth?
It's an North London derby, Chris. I think to get Sophie and Kenny both says that form goes out the window. We've got a competitive team, like you says there. Conor Gallagher's been disappointing for me since he's come on, but I think this is the type of game that he will turn up on. He'll really relish in this atmosphere of an North London derby. Igor Tudor got a tune out of Kolo Muani at Juventus. Let's hope he can get a tune out of him here because we haven't seen too many positives from his time at Tottenham. I think Solanke's been one of our better players in recent weeks, and he was hugely missed. I think Xavi Simons is starting to show the player that we've seen, for in the German league and with the Netherlands. So, is it our strongest team? Absolutely not. But there's definitely enough quality, especially in that forward area with Xavi Simons and Dominic Solanke to cause problems. And Solanke scored some big goals and big games against some of the better teams in his time at Tottenham. You think about those 2 goals against Man City. He scored against Liverpool. He scored against Man United a few times. So look, there's definitely enough there to hurt Arsenal. But I think when you play Arsenal, Chris, Kenny mentioned some of the things that you have to do. One of them for me is defend set pieces, because they are a real threat. Yes, we've been pretty handy ourselves from set pieces, but if it's a 0-0 tight game, every time Arsenal get a corner, you feel that something could happen, or a cross into the box, a free kick cross into the box. So Gabriel's got form. He scored the only goal in this fixture last season from a corner. We've got to defend really well. I believe if we keep a clean sheet, we'll win the game, because I do think we've got a goal in us. I do think it's going to be a super tight game. Yes, Arsenal are a much better team than us, but like Kenny says, they've not been firing all cylinders. There's been a huge reliance on set pieces, and I'll be keen to get the guy's opinion on Mikel Arteta, because we hear a lot of Arsenal podcasts and you see a lot of videos online. Some are with Arteta, some are against. I'm a big believer that all Arsenal fans want to win the league, but there's contrasting opinions on the manager and how he's going about trying to win the league. There's I think they've so many own goals have went Arsenal's way this season. I think Kenny has referenced the Wolves game at home. I think they scored 2 own goals in that game. They beat bottom of the league. And the set pieces is they've never been stronger from set pieces, and they've been very good at set pieces the last few seasons. So we defend our set pieces well in this game and give no silly mistakes away. We've got a chance. Because like Kenny says, I think Arsenal have played better football in recent seasons than the football we're seeing this season. I think Kenny referenced the Leicester season as an opportunity. I believe after 27 games, Arsenal this season have the lowest points tally since the Leicester season, where Leicester were 2 points behind them after 27 games. So that tells you that the teams at the top of the league this season have not been as consistent as recent seasons. Arsenal fans won't care if they go on to win the league, that they got more points in a season they finished second. But it does tell you that 2 wins in their last 7 games, they are beatable. But Spurs have got to turn up, defend well, and be clinical when the opportunities come.
Sophie, Kenny, let me ask you both. Out of this team that I've put on screen here, who the Premier League are predicting that Igor Tudor will go with on Sunday, what do you make of this team? Sophie, you seem to be a little bit surprised, thinking that this was probably better than what you thought it was going to be with the injuries that we've got. Who do you fear in this team? And also, let me ask both of you, is there anyone in this starting 11 that would get in your starting 11?
Only one. Van der Ven, if Saliba or... Actually, Van der Ven could play left back.
Van der Ven could play up front.
Van der Ven, I would take Van der Ven all day long, Kenny, as part of the Arsenal squad, wouldn't you? I mean, he's top quality. What I fear is Van der Ven making a run from Vicario to David Raya and Gabriel having a brain fart moment and something like that happening. He's a nice player to watch, elegant, speed. He's got everything. He's a specimen, Van der Ven.
Do you know what's sad, Sophie? Over the years when you've come on this channel, the amount of times I've asked you a very similar question and you've just rattled off names to me, and now it's just one.
That's crazy, isn't it? That's crazy. And it's really funny. It's I'm going to see Son play today down LAFC at the Coliseum. It's Son versus Messi today, the opening day of Major League Soccer. And I know it's different, but when you see Son play and you think, wow, I mean, like we talked about the partnership and stuff. I don't know if he would still have an impact for you in the dressing room. He was pretty much gone and you made a lot of money selling him. But yeah, I mean, it's Van der Ven for me. No, but when you look at that side, like Xavi Simons has hit some form, right? He could be dangerous. Started off poorly, looking like a dud signing. And Paulinho is one of those guys that could pop up in a last minute type, situation, has that in him. I think their team looks a little bit better than I thought it was, Kenny. Maybe I'm missing the boat here.
Look, I think that team would be a much better team if it had Kudus and Kulusevski.
Well, yeah, I mean, their injuries.
But when I look at that team, Van der Ven sticks out a mile. He's actually a brilliant footballer.
He's so good.
I mean, you've got to keep that guy fit. He's going to be a top class defender in this league, and whatever you do, make sure if he asks for the 2 moons, give him the 4 moons. Don't lose him. He's that kind of player that you need to keep. Solanke, I think he's come back to form come back to fitness in the right time. Colin Marnie's Yeah, he's one of those players that you expect more, but he's struggling in this league. But the thing with Conor Gallagher,
I rate him.
The thing with Conor Gallagher, he's like a horse for courses player. Do you remember during the Euros 2 years ago, where it was a case where it was anyone but Conor Gallagher, but the manager wanted to play him because he wanted him for his pressing and he understands tactics. He was never going to be that kind of midfielder that's going to, have the sort of season at Crystal Palace. He is what he is. He's a midfielder that can get up and down, and he's kind of. I've got this phrase. I think Sophie's heard this. He's a dibbly dobbly. Like I call Trossard a dibbly dobbly. He's a dibbly dobbly. You watch cricket, and you'll know what a dibbly dobbly is. Basically, a guy that's good at what he does, but when he's in form, but he's not class. Conor Gallagher.
That's Martinelli, not Trossard.
No. Trossard's a dibbly dobbly, sis. Trust me, it's a dibbly dobbly.
Right, guys, I don't know how you feel, but even like someone like if Richarlison's on the bench tomorrow, I always think he gets a lot of criticism of Spurs fans, but the Liverpool fans says to me when he come on that day and he caused chaos. He's the type that
he doesn't score goals. He don't score goals. Centre forward's got to score goals. He didn't score goals at Watford. Never scored goals at Everton.
Mm.
No, but he's got that menace chip. He's got that.
He has the type that could pop up and do something.
He's got that menace chip. Like when he comes on with 10 minutes to go, you know what we're going to be. We're winning 1-0, 10 minutes to go. Richarlison's coming on. How are you feeling about that? Not because it's Richarlison. It's like I can.
His shirt will be off, Sophie, and then the offside flag will go up.
And then the pigeon dance or chicken pigeon, whatever it is. I don't know, but things like that worry me because, after Wolves, we're vulnerable. We're very vulnerable. And there's an opportunity. But really, if the real Arsenal show up, the real team, the team that we know is in there, and Mikel starts Eze, you got to start Eze on Sunday.
That's not going to happen.
You got to plant that seed in their head that he's going to do it to them again, Kenny. Who's starting then?
All right,
he's not starting Odegaard over Eze on Sunday.
Odegaard's his favourite.
Yeah,
Odegaard's he's falling down a pecking order big time. He's not playing. He's not playing well. But he's going to start Bukayo Saka in a number 10 position.
Kenny, this is the starting 11 that the Premier League are predicting, and Arteta said that there is a big possibility that Odegaard and Havertz will be available. And
I say left back is wrong. I think Nketiah will start there.
Nketiah will definitely start. I think the midfield. I don't see Odegaard starting.
No,
I see Saka starting, and I see
Madueke
starting on the right, and then Trossard will start because he's had a good season. He's had an okay season. For a dibbly dobbly, but he's not like top class, but he'll do for now.
Well, Martinelli stunk the joint out, didn't he?
Yeah, exactly. And Gyökeres, the thing with Gyökeres, we know what's going to happen is that after 60 minutes, he's going to substitute and bring Jesus on. So that is quite an accurate team. But the thing that's so perverse, had Calafiori not get injured in the warm-up against Wigan, we might have, who knows, we could have seen Miles Skelly in that position because he was meant to start in that midfield. But we've gone from Miles Skelly not getting that opportunity to Bukayo Saka getting an opportunity, 45 minutes against Wigan, and then he's now playing there.
It's his thing, isn't it? If something works for something, he will put it's like square pegs in round holes. Arteta will now push that. It's like Thomas Partey at right back. It's like Xhaka at left back. It's he will push it. He will push it. And I think maybe because in some way, I don't think Andrea Berta's doing this, but it's like more attacking players. Our defense have brought us as far as they can this season. Guys, we're in February and they've done it all. There's Colossus. They're brilliant. Our attack has to take us to the rest of the season to win this title.
Saka's got to turn up. Saka's our best player, and he hasn't turned up. People.
It's just the way you say if Saka doesn't have top form, I think it's difficult.
It's like I say Saka's not world class. Maybe some people disagree with me like that. But when I was in this upper street, right, and there was this Arsenal fan, and he said, "Oh, I've seen you on shows. Yeah, I don't like what you say about Saka." I said, "Is he world class?" And I said, "I don't think he's world class." You know what he did? Do you remember Different Strokes?
What are you talking about, Willis?
You're talking about Willis. You're talking that sort of look.
Kenny, do you
That
not
all-
think the managers
You know what I
mismanaged
mean?
him? But because he's been rushed back from injury a lot, he's played 90 minutes when Arsenal were 3 or 4-0 up at times. You have to protect your best players, and I think
Hang on, Gareth.
Arteta's ran him under the ground a wee bit. And I think now you see any time he can hardly do 90 minutes anymore because he's exhausted or he's injury prone. So I think the managers, they take a lot of flack for Saka's poor form.
Oh my God, did West Ham just score? No. Did they?
No, don't. No,
Sophie,
don't have to worry.
Sophie, who needs these 3 points more, Spurs or Arsenal?
Us. No doubt. Listen, if Spurs lose, I still think you've got games to make it up. What they're going to do is they're going to frighten your fans the same way they frighten us about not winning the title, bottling it, Man City. The media will take chunks out of Tottenham, which, by the way, I think they do. I think you guys get it as bad as we do sometimes. I mean, someone asked Igor Tudor, I think it was John Cross in the presser, do you know what Spursy means?
Yep.
This is journalism?
Yep.
Right? Well, it's not funny. Is that funny? I don't think it's funny. I mean, is it? I don't.
There's a lot of very weird and odd questions in press conferences these days, particularly in
there
Tottenham ones.
What are you doing? He's a professional manager. He's come in. I know I hate Tottenham. I want to see you guys lose and get relegated for one season and come back. But come on, show some respect. It's the same way the way they used to talk and treat Ange. Come on, man. And André Pesecazolo, it's like show some respect. And for me, I just think, you know, I don't know. I didn't even know what we were talking about. I lost my way there. Standing up for your gaffer. I don't know. I don't even know
Where are you at with? Where are you at?
What did you ask me?
Where are you at with Arteta? You've always been kind of on the fence. You've always kind of been on the fence.
He should have been gone in 21. But the fact is that, and I say it seriously, I think he's not going to be here for more than 10 years because I think the demands of the job, and I think Ange talked about it. Like, can you imagine it if you're a Premier League manager now with all these social media, all these press conferences you've got to do, a pre-press conference, a post-press conference, an after-match interview, a post-match interview, and you're playing the amount of games that I think we're going to play. It takes a toll on you mentally. Then you've got to prepare for pre-season. I think this season, I wouldn't be surprised when Mikel Arteta says, you know what?
I'm done.
I think it's make or break because I think the fans would struggle to get behind him if he finished second again.
You can't. There's no coming back from it. We can't go another season. There's no coming back from it. I don't know how Arsenal fans will recover. It will take a long. This will be the worst one yet.
We won't get over it.
I'm not sure how we're going to recover.
We won't
just
recover.
Being honest.
We won't recover because you know what's going to happen. We will refuse to engage in any discussions about
anything.
Winning a title. We won't go on a bar of it. We'll be so traumatized that I'll be ashamed of myself, and I think you will be as well, sis, because you can't come back from this. You know,
how do you do content? What do you sell to people?
What can you sell?
We're retiring.
We're 16th. We're 16th, I might add. At least you're top.
How do you do content, Chris?
With Gareth and Chris, I'll tell you one thing. I wouldn't lay a glove on them because I wouldn't have the belief that I could beat them. If we don't win the league this season, it's not entitlement. It's because...
No, it's not.
Chris has been asking me to be positive all season, and we get Arsenal on top of the league, and I can't believe the negativity.
Because the simple reason is that there's top of the league, and then there's Arsenal's top of the league. Other teams' top of the league is like last season, Liverpool, just running away with it. 15 points ahead of Arsenal, 10 points, and you know we're going to win again. But it's like, with Arsenal, just not sure.
Yeah.
As I said,
I think if you won on Sunday, you probably go on and win the league. I think that's how big it is for you.
Well, thanks for the endorsement, but I'm sure you said nice simpler with it about half an hour ago.
No, but I don't think Arsenal will win on Sunday. So,
all right, fair enough.
Do you really think that? Do you think that? Here's the thing that baffles me, right? So the way they pit us against each other too. Tottenham, who everyone's ripped a brand new, you know what, all season. All of a sudden, in the papers and everywhere, can Tottenham put the final dagger in Arsenal's, which, by the way, we'd still be in the title race.
Yeah.
But now it's like bigging up Tottenham, who've been rubbish all season. You see what's happening here. So if you do beat us, that narrative is so beautiful for everyone on Monday morning, Sunday evening, isn't it? guys.
But the
Yeah.
but the
I just
pressure, the pressure,
Yeah.
Sophie, is all on Arsenal. I think.
100%.
Yeah.
That was where we were going.
It's going to be such a cagey game that I think it's more likely to be one team wins it by a goal or a draw.
Yeah, that's where I lost my train of thought because then I started defending your gaffer. Thank you, Chris. Yeah, 100%.
Particularly
This
with
is- this
all
the
of the
pressure-
injuries.
You guys have time to make up the gap, right? I don't think it's going to be tough. And you're in a battle that you should have been in last season, but the teams were so rubbish. So now you find yourself in the same battle, right? So they should have seen this coming. But the pressure's on us. No one's expecting anything from Spurs. They're hoping Spurs will beat Arsenal. Everyone's willing it. But the pressure is all on Mikel Arteta. Let me tell you something. If this is any other club, hear me out, everyone. I don't know, it might be wacky, but the results that have gone, we've got 2 wins in however many games. The Wolves game was abysmal, right? He's lucky he's in the League Cup. Let's just say you lose to Tottenham and you lose the League Cup. Other clubs would fire him before you even got to what you're going to do next in the Champions League. I'm not saying I would, but you can't collapse like that. This is his biggest game of his Arsenal career, this game on Sunday. I thought that it was against Liverpool a few weeks ago or Manchester. No, this is Mikel Arteta's biggest game. You cannot lose this game, mate.
Every time you've come on here, Sophie, you've always been really supportive of Arteta. Are you kind of changing a little bit now?
At the beginning, I wasn't. Then for the last 3 seasons, last 2 seasons especially, I have really stood behind him because it's undeniable what we've done and what we're doing. How can you deny it? Who wouldn't want him as manager? And then all of this work goes away. You bring in someone. Who are you going to bring in? Okay, but then there's a whole other show we could do about who's next, right? And of course, there's good, talented managers out there. But
Thomas Frank, he's a big Arsenal fan.
You can't win.
Yeah, he's available.
No, you can't be given all of these tools and have all of these options in your toolbox and not close the deal. And it's a shame because it would be really a sad moment, from everything, all the hope. We could have been going for our 3rd Premier League title now. You can't close the deal. You can't be manager.
I mean, Newcastle could beat Man City, Arsenal could beat Spurs, and these are all.
But history has shown that if we do win tomorrow, it could be a false dawn because we've been here before. Or
it could finally be the change, Kenny.
But the thing is that we thought it was good. We thought when we beat Leeds and we got over the Man United game that we drew a line under these kind of like indifferent performances, and then boom, we're good to go. All these teams that are giving us problems in terms of physicality, getting organised, we're finally playing attacking football, but it didn't happen.
Yeah,
even after Sunderland, and that's my biggest concern is that. My situation with Arteta, of course Arteta's a good coach. He's a fantastic coach. I'm not a pork chop. Of course I know he's a good coach. But is he a good manager? Because that's his title. Manager. Yeah. Man manager.
I don't think he's a good man manager.
And that's where you have the concern.
That's the
because
problem.
The situation is that he's got a deep squad, but he doesn't believe it because he uses the same personnel. His treatment, his use of Saka last season, he should have gone to jail for that. Any man and a dog in any market in in North London, Shepherd's Bush, anywhere in London, would have known that a player like Saka, when he's had a serious injury, should never have played again last season because we needed him for the season after that.
It's because of the Champions League, right?
Yeah.
They bought him back.
We were never going to win it.
League.
We were never going to win that Champions League. I know hindsight is 2020, but the fact is, we
beat ourselves again.
Yeah, but the thing about it is that if Saka was not rushed back, we wouldn't have seen these injuries. Now, I don't have to take the Hippocratic oath to know that. I'm just a normal guy from Islington. But even I know that if you rush players back from injury, they're going to be a knock-on effect. And that's exactly what's happened.
I heard he was told at the start of the season that under no circumstance. He was told, like, by powerful people, is what I hear, that he's got to use the squad. Like, you cannot
He's
do
refused
this.
to do it.
I can imagine
Yeah,
who did. Well, Berta's bringing in all these players, right?
Yeah, but he don't rate them. He
And
don't rate Eze. He don't rate Odegaard.
honestly,
He don't rate
Spurs.
Norgard.
How did Spurs not get Norgard? Norgard is so good. He doesn't play him.
Sophie, before I go through a few stats and get your score predictions, would you have preferred Thomas Frank in the dugout on Sunday or Igor Tudor, or don't you think it matters?
I like to go with what I know. I would take Thomas Frank for 50, please. Yeah, I would rather it was Thomas Frank and there were these issues. Now there's hope, right? With change, there's always hope. Now that hope may be fleeting, but you have it. And correct me if I'm wrong. Has he never lost his first game in charge? Is this stat true or is it a myth?
I think he's lost his first game in charge, but the last 5 appointments, he has won all 5 games in his first game at those 5 appointments.
Tomorrow be different.
Yeah. Sorry, Igor.
Yeah.
We've already faced one Igor this season and he almost slayed us. We cannot let that happen to us.
Hey, you know something? Can we all sing aloud together? You know, like the Thomas Frank song. You know, I want to bring back Thomas Frank as a school member. Should we all sing?
Sophie goes on about press conferences. Thomas Frank was asked about holding up that Arsenal Cup in a press conference. How, another one. And plus, actually, let me just ask all 3 of you. If someone made you a cup of tea and handed you the cup, would you look at the cup? Because I would.
Yeah.
I would.
I don't want any Spurs memorabilia on my skin or touching it.
That's what I'm saying, Kenny. If I made you a cup of tea, you're instantly going to think that I've put it in a Spurs
I know
cup,
for a fact.
I probably would have done.
I know for a fact. If I gave you my address and you said, Ken, I'm going to send you a Christmas present, I'll check first. If you went up to me and said, Ken, here's some travel suites for your long coach journey, I'm checking to see if they're Tottenham suites. I'm checking because it's you.
Yeah.
Do you know that one time, real quick?
Chris, as you know, I'm a football coach, and one of the biggest skills and qualities a football coach has to have is attention to detail.
Yes.
So many years ago, real quick, a funny one.
Manager here.
Oh, is Gareth freezing or am I freezing?
Yeah, he's got dodgy Wi-Fi. Go for it.
Oh, sorry, Gareth. No, I was just going to say, I was working on a film years ago called The Last of the Mohicans, a Michael Mann movie, and I made Daniel Day-Lewis a cup of tea. They were doing casting and stuff. And I was literally, just so happened there was an Arsenal mug there, and I was like, oh, this is cool. So I make him the tea, and I take Daniel Day-Lewis the tea, and he gives me daggers. He said, what's this? I said, your tea. And he looked at me, he goes, I'm a Millwall fan. And he wouldn't drink out of it. And he put the tea down. I had to go and make him in a funny banter way. But yeah, Daniel Day-Lewis supports Millwall and he did not and was not happy with me when I handed him a cup.
I can't imagine him, Danny. I can't imagine.
Yeah, isn't that
someone
weird?
That posh, Danny Old Ben, walking like this and scaring all these.
He gave it the Millwall as well. I was like, oh my gosh,
Yeah.
are you in character now?
Did he give you the Millwall stare, did he?
Maybe it was Bill the Butcher from Gangs in New York, Daniel Day-Lewis. Maybe it was that kind of.
That's what it felt like, Gareth. Thank you.
Right, score prediction time. Let me just give you a few of these stats here. Tottenham are winless in the last 8 Premier League games, drawing 4 and losing 4. And Spurs are the only side in the Premier League so far to not have won in 2026. Arsenal, since their last league defeat against Spurs in May 2022, Arsenal have only lost just 1 of their last 21 away London derbies, winning 14 and drawing 6. And that was going down to Fulham in December 2023. What a record that is. And interestingly, I saw Arteta saying that this is the 7th time this season where they're facing a side with a brand new manager. That's an incredible record as well. Sophie, how are you feeling ahead of this game on Sunday? What's your score prediction? And who's going to score? What's going to happen?
Mikel's so funny, isn't it? That comment there was about, I'm so secure. Like, look what I've done for you. That's so, he's such a little way sometimes, honestly. I feel good. I feel good about this game. Because you just read some stats out and you've lighten my heart and my mood. Come on, Arsenal. You can't. Please don't do this. Not against Tottenham. And look, who'd have thought Arsenal fighting for the title, Tottenham fighting relegation? I mean, this conversation 5 years ago, if you'd have said to somebody, they would have been like, you're mad. I say we go up 3-0 by halftime. And then in the second half, Tottenham find their feet. A little bit like that game at the Emirates when we went 3-0 up, Smith Rowe, Saka. And then in the second half, Kane, Son. I think Ramsdale made an amazing save from Kane. Otherwise, it would have been 3-3. And we'll get scared, but we'll scrape by 3-2 because of your comeback in the second half. That's how I see it. You're going to find some bravado in the second half.
So what's the score prediction, Sophie?
3-2 to the Arsenal.
3-2. Okay. Arsenal have actually won the last 4 North London derbies in the Premier League. Gareth, what are you going to go for? And just while I think of it, West Ham, the full-time whistle is now gone, 0-0 against Bournemouth. So going into this game against Arsenal on Sunday, Spurs are 4 points above the relegation zone.
Yeah, of course, we would have done with West Ham getting beat, but look, at least they have won. We've got an opportunity tomorrow. As long as we get a result, that gap stays intact. Look, I think Sophie's game's very entertaining. I see it as a much closer game. I'm going for a 1-1 draw. Spurs, they take the lead, and Arsenal, they script an equaliser from a set piece. So I'm going for a 1-1 draw on a very cagey affair. I don't think it'll be an entertaining game. I think it'll be very cagey, and a draw is the most like. I always be honest when I come on here as well, guys. I always try and, you don't want your credibility to go. So if I'm saying it's a draw, that's what I actually do believe. I think it'll be a 1-1 cagey affair.
Gareth, I actually agree with you. I think it's going to be a 1-1 draw. I'm really hoping and praying that Spurs get the 3 points because we desperately need them to climb up that Premier League table. But I think this has a draw written all over it, this match. Kenny, what are you going to go for?
Yeah, I agree with yourself and Gareth. I think it's going to be a draw as well because there's certain things we're not doing well. We're not creating chances as well as we should be. And we're inviting a lot of pressure as well as should be. There are weaknesses, Spurs. Dragisin has no pace. But the problem is that our striker's got no pace, so that's an equaliser. And he's been here 3 seasons and he's still like the wacky races set pieces. So maybe he could be our avenue winning the game. Vicario, so bad at set pieces even now. The amount of goals that he's letting. I mean, the West Ham game, that obviously at your ground. I mean, what was he doing? I mean, who fouled him? Was it a sniper from up in the stands that fouled him? Because no one touched him and he fluffed his line. So that could be our avenue. But I look at the game and I just think you guys be so up for it. But you've got an educated coach and you're just playing an educated way and you're trying to stop our creative players. And I think that's why I think it'll be a point because I don't think at the moment we have the confidence to break it down. And I think set pieces, you'll be working on that. You've had 12 days, so I think that's something you're going to be working on quite a lot to try and repel us.
That's the biggest challenge for us too, is that usually we would have something to go on. Mikel doesn't have anything to go on. We don't know what Igor Tudor is going to do. We've never seen him in the Premier League before. Yeah. So not only are we struggling, but now we're facing a manager that we've not seen before. We don't know what his take is. So that makes it more challenging for Mikel. And he's not good at he's not good at adjustments in game. So if he sees something, that's what worries me. That's why we've got to go fast, early, get the goals, and then hang on.
But you see what he's going to do in midfield? He's going to play runners like Conor Gallagher. So all those guys are going to run, and that's going to be their avenue into the game. And I think that's where we'll find it hard, especially in midfield, because Declan Rice he's doing at times 2 people's jobs. But let's just address the Declan Rice thing. You can always, go on TV and shout the odds about how badly everyone's playing, and you could always put your hand over your mouth. But you're part of that midfield at Wolves that succumbed to pressure. So you weren't exactly pulling up trees yourself. And Brentford, your part of that midfield have got absolutely mullered. So if I was Declan Rice, I'll take this opportunity to keep my mouth firmly shut and start playing some football.
He's
That's
getting
it.
away with a couple of bad performances
Yeah,
lately.
yeah, but because he's talking the odds, he's shouting the odds. He's like going, "Oh, not me! I'm the best player, and they're all crap." I'll do that, Declan, mate. That's.
He's positioned himself as an untouchable, and his voice is getting louder and louder.
I'll tell you one thing. I'll be shocked if he's playing in that England midfield, because I could if I choose my England midfield right now, he's not in it.
Don't go too far, Kenny.
No. Tactics. I'm talking about tactics. Keeping the ball, tactics, and that midfield three. Elliot Anderson is playing that number 6 position. Declan isn't.
I like that. I like him. I'd like him at Arsenal. Who wouldn't like Elliot Anderson? Mm-hmm.
Right. We're going to finish on a little bit of a debate. Now, I just wanted to know your thoughts on who has been the better club in the past 10 years, the past 10 seasons. So going from the 2015-16 season right up to last season. Now, 6 of those 10 seasons, Spurs finished above Arsenal in the Premier League. And in the last 3, Arsenal have finished above Spurs. And then, of course, in the 15-16 season, Arsenal finished above Spurs. Spurs finishing 3rd, Arsenal 2nd. So 6 seasons overall out of the 10, Spurs finished on top. Of course, Arsenal in the last 10 years have won 2 FA Cups, 4 Charity Shields, Spurs winning a Europa League trophy, and of course going to the Champions League final in 2019. Sophie, let's start with you. Who has been the best club in the last 10 years?
I mean, there's so much criteria. Are we just talking pure stats? And, we're the better club. I say that only because I love Arsenal. You won a European trophy. It's not, what's really funny is this is where finishing second reminds people that no one gives a toss about it.
But you know what? You've spoke so fondly about the Pochettino years at Tottenham.
Yeah.
Haven't you? And, in the past 10 years, this includes the Pochettino era.
Yeah. I think you edge it because you went to a Champions League final and you won a European trophy. If we're talking pure football, if we're talking about best club, how it's run, this isn't even a conversation. And I think we'd all agree on that, right? But taking my rose-colored glasses off, if we're talking 6 year, that's the window. I'd say you edge it from a football point of view, because you got to a European final and you won a European final in the Europa League. So that's my truth.
Yeah.
But we're the better run club. There's no doubt about that.
Gareth, do you agree with Sophie there?
I think she's nailed it. I would say, football point of view, we've had better players like Kane and Son. I don't think Arsenal have had players like that and that era. You could speak about Sanchez and Ozil, but they weren't. Ozil, there was a lot of problems there, and Sanchez probably wasn't there long enough. And he probably moved around 2016 anyway. Yes, they've had some brilliant players in the last couple of years, but I don't think, Saka, you could say, but Kenny's not convinced long term if he will, be in that bracket of a Kane or Son where they were. Martinelli, I thought was going to be an unbelievable winger. I think that first season Arsenal challenged for the league, he scored over 20 goals. Hasn't had damn height since. Odegaard the same. Thought that season he was brilliant. So I would say Spurs have probably had the better players, had the better moment being won the Europa League. Yes, FA Cups Arsenal have won as well, but I think Spurs and Arsenal haven't been traditionally seen as European heavyweights, so Spurs doing that probably tops it. No question, as Sophie says, in terms of the best run club, who's better set up, Arsenal. And if you were looking at the next 5 years, who's going to be in a better situation, you would have to say Arsenal. So very 50-50, but just Spurs because of that Europa League final, and probably had the better moments in terms of those brilliant moments that Kane and Son had together as a partnership.
And Kenny?
Well, Chris, me and you love boxing. I'm gonna come up with an analogy. George Groves, Carl Froch's first fight. Do you remember how it went? You remember how it started?
Yeah.
Do you remember how it ended?
Yeah.
There's your answer. Of course, it's us. You Spurs are George Groves. landing the right hands, putting us on the floor.
This is why I prefer
Getting
Sophie, you see.
Getting
That
the
fight
crowd-
should never have been stopped, by the way.
Getting exactly. You're talking about the unfairness. That's a Spurs trait, by the way. Unfair, if only Spurs trait. And then we're Carl Froch, and we're the ones in that space. It's got to be Arsenal because simple reason is that you wasted the years to dominate because you weren't able to keep those players, that team. You kept that team and you got elite players alongside it. We wouldn't be having this conversation. You would have won a trophy by now. You would have been challenged for leagues instead of us, or maybe alongside us. So you've dropped the ball, just like George Groves, threw too many right hands, got greedy, and Carl Froch got Howard Foster to step in and give us the win. Simple.
Kenny coming in with the Buster Douglas Mike Tyson there for the end. Bosh on the canvas. That's it. Done.
It sounds like a load of a waffle to me.
Oh, come on, Chris! You're boxing, mate. We're both at the North. We're both at the Ben Eubank second fight.
At least Sophie just give me a straightforward answer.
Well, all right, but it's just but the thing is though, that's actually what happened, didn't it? You guys are like George Groves. You had all the players. You had a great great team, great manager. Then you dropped the ball, and then you let us back in. And
the only thing missing from that story is Arsenal haven't delivered the knockout blow yet. So
we haven't
seen that yet.
No,
you know what? You know what? That is a very, very, very. Maybe we're waiting for our Howard Foster.
What a great way to end. Kenny,
I would have taken the Europa League trophy last season.
Exactly.
I would have been having a parade.
Fans are idiots. Are you joking? What a beautiful trophy. I touched that trophy once, and let me tell you, it is beautiful. What a trophy! And the weight of it is heavy.
You know what? They're a big club. Do you know how many fans they mobilised for winning the Europa League? Can you imagine what it'd be like? They won
impressive.
the League and Champions League.
Guys, can I ask you a quick question before we go off? Me and my Arsenal friend had this debate the other day. If Arsenal won the League Cup in March, I told them they would have an open top bus parade. He says they wouldn't. What do you think?
Nah, no way.
No.
I would be shocked if we did that. No freaking way.
It's a league, mate. It's a league.
If they did that,
because we want to win the league. Because we need the league. We need the league.
But you don't know you're going to win the league, and you can't have
Gareth,
an open top.
let me tell you what's going to happen.
May,
We're going to do the parade. We're going to do the parade in May with the three, with the League Cup, the Premier League, and the Champions League. We'll save it for May.
If only
that's very risky. That's very risky. Is my point.
Come on,
very,
man,
very
believe.
risky because
Why
if you don't
can't we
want anything
believe?
else.
Do you know what annoys me is as an Arsenal fan, if you're a believer, people call you a fool or an idiot. When did this happen? Why? I'm a football fan. Who took the fun out of football?
You said that the League Cup was going to be very important psychologically for Arsenal. You beat Man City in the final. It's going to be very important. So why would you not? Sorry. So the League Cup's going to be very important for Arsenal in terms of psychologically beating Man City, getting their hands on silverware. So why not celebrate it at the time? Why not have
you can't, because it's not
in 2005.
It's not the end goal, Gareth. Yeah, it's not the end goal. It's important to get to the Holy Grail, and then you can celebrate it. You cannot be celebrating anything. Enjoy the day, parade the cup. We'll have a good Sunday night, good Monday, but don't be starting thinking you've delivered something and there's a whole other season to play after that. No bueno.
I think he's having open top plus if he's won.
I could actually picture the club doing that because it's good PR for them. I wouldn't be shocked.
Gareth, we say the same thing about Spurs, about their minute.
They bring out DVDs. Come on.
I don't know. We're allowed to say that DVD after what happened a few years back.
No, they don't exist. They don't exist anymore. It's all just downloads now.
Digital.
Yeah. That's it. I could talk all night. I tell you, I've really enjoyed talking to you all this evening. Gareth, thank you so much for joining us again, and we will see you again very soon. Where can people find you on social media?
Yes, Chris, thanks for having me on. Brilliant to be part of the podcast with the guys here tonight. Really enjoyed it. Some great banter, some great insight, and I was buzzing for the game anyway, but I'm looking forward to it even more now on Sunday. I can't wait, to be honest. you can find me on that handle underneath my name there, and you can always find me on this podcast or usually around the Tottenham Hotspur Stadium. My next game is going to be the Champions League knockout game in March, but this game on Sunday, this is the one I really look forward to every year. I know I don't live in London, I live in Ireland here, but I'm telling you, it really hits, and especially when we're at home, I always expect us to at least not get beat. Arsenal are a fantastic team, and I'm sure the guys are confident as well, but I really do think we can get something on Sunday. So come on, you Spurs.
Thank you, Gareth. And Kenny, thank you as always. Where can people find you?
Well, you can find me on social media, but if you want to know what I'm doing after this, I'm probably going to have a choice of going to Best Kebab Crouch End or see if they're giving away free chicken shawarmas in Habiba at Wood Green, because they were doing it last week. So anywhere there's chicken involved, you'll find me there.
And the Spurs fans will find you at the stadium tomorrow?
I hope so. You never know. Until I get that ticket in my hand, I'm either watching at home and praying you don't contact me, or I'll be in the stadium praying you don't contact me.
Kenny, thank you so much. We will speak to you very soon. And Sophie, thanks as always. Have you been talking to Pochettino lately? Can you be tapping him up to come back to Tottenham in the summer?
I had a good chicken shawarma. He wants to come back to Tottenham so bad. I'm seeing him again. Let's see. There's a presser in 2 or 3 weeks. Seeing Son tonight. If you guys have a question in the presser, I'll try and ask him if you guys want. So wish you could put that out to your listeners.
Don't do it. Don't do it. Son, mate. He's never the same when you go back. It's not going to be the same, mate.
See,
it's going to be...
This is why I prefer Sophie on here. You see, you don't give me these sorts of offers.
But at Highbury Squad, we did a really good show on Thursday with Paul Buckle, the ex-manager of Luton Town, and Marcus Gale, Wimbledon and Brentford manager, player, legend from the 90s. We had a really good chat about the North London derby. I wanted the insider perspective, and it was really good chat. So go check that out at Highbury Squad. Appreciate you, Chris. One of the best, one of the good guys doing great things, and keep it up. You really are. You're just like a top shelf human being, firstly, but also just love coming on here and talking football with you.
Hey, Chris, remember the first time we met?
Yes.
Very inappropriate how I approached you, but I thought it's my only chance to speak to the great Chris Canning, so I thought I took it with both hands.
I don't know whether you heard this the story, Sophie. I will tell you quickly. I'm literally running outside the Emirates. We've just lost there. And then Kenny is approaching me with this camera, literally sticks it in my face and says, "We're live. Tell us what you think about the game." Literally the worst thing, the last thing you ever want to do after a North London derby, minutes after the final whistle. No.
Terrible. What a terrible thing to do.
I just wanted to see if you sounded the same, but you did. I did ask you if you were related to the Poch. I could have.
Yeah. Right. On that note, thank you so much for listening, everyone. Thanks for watching. And Sophie, Kenny, Gareth, thanks so much. Let's all hope that it is a very entertaining game at the Tottenham Hotspur Stadium on Sunday. And let's hope that Spurs get the win on Sunday afternoon. Thanks for watching. Come on, you Spurs.